Hello, everybody. I'm Officer Chris Anderson, my canine partner, Tagg. We snuck into the mayor's office today to tell you guys about the Dog Days of Summer event we have coming up on September 17th, this Saturday, from 11 to 2. The reason why we're doing this event is because the canine program received a generous donation, and with that money, we were able to fence in a training area for our canine unit and get a Connex box to store all of the training equipment that we need. And with that, we're also going to pay tribute to our fallen canine officer Bosco, or canine Bosco, who died last year. And because of that loss, we were able to get 2 new patrol canines who have taken a full year to get trained up and are ready to be put in service. So we want to show them off to the public and showcase everything they can do. We also want to have a little tribute to Bosco and one of our former canine handlers who promoted, and thank them for their time and their service. And this is going to be a total fun family event. We're going to have a snow cone machine out there. We're going to have a photo booth. We can get pictures with Tagg. We're going to have a Guide Dogs for the Blind come out and showcase some of their animals. We might have some explosive detection dogs out there. So we just want to show off what working dogs in law enforcement can do and what they're capable of and why they're such a great asset. And we hope to see you guys out there. We're going to have a little fundraising event too for Tagg, where we're going to sell these stuffed canine animals of all of our dogs to kind of raise money for his account. As you know, Tagg's fully funded by donations from the community. So thank you so much for that. And we hope that we'll see you out there, and we look forward to it. So with that, I'm going to pass you off to the mayor so he can do his thing.
So are we standing, or do I get to sit in the chair? I don't know.
You were standing.
You were brilliant.
Do we have your microphone? There we go. The microphone is coming up just now.
Have you ever had your office taken over by a canine?
I have not, but I can only imagine that now the viewers are going to want to see canines every single time we do Facebook Live. And actually, that is something that we just might have to consider. Although, as we were talking before, City Manager Nina Vetter thinks we should have a comfort cat?
Yeah, comfort cat.
A comfort cat. And we've decided that cats rarely bring us comfort because they're always ready to just scratch. With that, again, folks, just make sure you get out to the Dog Days of Summer. Support the canine unit and the great work that they do. We certainly want to see folks out supporting that great program. Welcome again to our monthly Facebook Live. We've got lots of things happening. Of course, I'm Mayor Travis Stovall, and here with me is Chief Travis Gullberg. Yes, the Travi. That means Travis plural. I know. By the way. I know. I really like your first name. People always call me by your name all the time. They're like, "Hey, Travis."
Or I get an email for
exactly.
you.
Oh, wow.
Insane.
I don't really get that many emails for you. Although they would probably be way more exciting than what I get. And speaking of exciting, literally, I just found out a fun fact that I have never known. The patch on your shoulder, you just educated me that there are strawberries on the Police City of Gresham, Oregon. Those are strawberries.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't see it because this one's a subdued patch. But when we have our colored patch, which are on our Class A's, you can actually see the strawberry, red in color. And the idea behind that is as people know that have been in the community for a long time, that this area had a lot of berry patches, berry farms, and strawberries was one of those main commodities that farmers around this area provided to the communities. So I'm thinking what would be a good idea is a strawberry should become, and I know my staff doesn't appreciate this very much, but a strawberry should become our mascot for the police department, maybe for the city.
Yes.
And go out with Tagg.
Yeah. I think you were saying maybe a strawberry outfit with red legs and just the whole strawberry type of costume.
Yeah, and I think I have a staff member or two that would love to put that costume on
I literally
and
cannot wait to
go
see
to the events. I think so.
I can't wait to
Maybe
see
we
that.
could get the city manager to do it at some point.
I'm
I
all
think
game.
yeah, I like that. Too.
I motion that. Second, all in favor, aye. So can't wait to see the strawberry outfit.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you all for joining us as usual. And again, that's a fun fact that not many of us have known. I know I didn't know it. I've lived here for 16, 17 years here in Gresham proper.
Yeah.
Super cool to know that those are strawberries on the patch.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of things to cover today. We started out with Tagg and a couple of officers talking about the Dog Days of Summer
Yes.
and the event that's coming. And so with that, let's stick with that theme. And you're here, so let's talk about community safety and some of the things that are going on there. Just recently, we'll just kick it off with just recently, of course, and as we are standing here, there is actually one of these overt cameras right across the street, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the overt camera overt camera installments and how they work. How long have they been here? And what does the future look like? Are they monitoring traffic? I know I get that question. Folks are like, well, are you monitoring? Are they red light cameras? Are they speed?
Yeah, sure.
Let us know what's going on with the overt camera systems.
Yeah, so it's not a new program. Actually, about a decade or so ago, the city of Gresham installed, and the police department alongside them, installed one of the first cameras. And it's slowly developed over time. Now, we made a large investment recently, so thank you very much to the city leadership and the city council and yourself for supporting that program, because really what it speaks to in my mind is about leveraging technology in a time when we know every industry is struggling with staffing, right? And when we're asked to do more with less, technologies is one of those that we can turn to and use it, to enhance our overall approach to community safety. So in this regard, no, we're not monitoring these cameras full time. I know there's always concern about Big Brother. That is not what we're doing. Certainly we have the opportunity, if there's an emergency situation or an active threat to our community, to go and access those cameras. But what we really do with these cameras is it provides us with an opportunity to go back to a specific date and time when we have a crime that has occurred, to collect video evidence that might help us in holding those accountable that have done harm to our community or a community member, and improve our chances for prosecution. So it's really about going back and grabbing evidence if it is there. But we ask a lot of detailed, information questions about why we specifically need to go back to that time period. But again, it enhances our opportunity for overall community safety because we let data and information drive where we put them in our communities. And by the way, they're not going to, community members are not going to see them right across from their street or in their neighborhood. They're going to see them on major thoroughfares, roadways, intersections that we know have high volume of traffic, potentially traffic crashes, crimes associated to traffic, or even, unfortunately, we've experienced gun violence. That, again, will help us to enhance our community safety approach. So that's what they're big and gray, they stand out, there's a blue light flashing, we're not trying to hide them, and we're really saying to people that would maybe come into our community and do harm, don't come into our community and do harm, because if we can find the evidence, we're going to hold you accountable and we're going to work with the DA's office to prosecute you.
So I think that's a great place as you transition kind of to this conversation. But although I want to ask a question, I think, and I've heard this reference with these overt camera systems. Do we have any evidence that actually says they help reduce potential crime?
Yeah, and I would say not only nationally, but internationally as well, as much as 20 to 50%. Now, I got asked this recently by the Oregonian. It's a great question. How do you know that they just don't go to somewhere else where you don't have the camera? And surely we can't get enough cameras up, right? Because it's costly. We made a big investment as a city to get as many as we have, and we have 24 up, and we're looking at it doing an additional 10. But we know, and we even seen it here locally, that the data shows that it drives down crime, because we're telling people, look, don't come into our area and say drive off from a hit and run accident, because if we can go back and get the video evidence and find out what vehicle was involved and maybe a license plate from it, we're going to follow that up and hold somebody accountable. So the data shows it, but certainly we can always improve our approaches. And so that's why I think this idea about embracing and leveraging technologies in a world that from drones to camera systems to programs that you can bring on to improve your ability to investigate crimes and really support your staff. You have to embrace that and look towards technologies, especially with our staffing shortages.
Now, we just mentioned staffing shortages,
Yeah.
and we've mentioned that a couple times. We talk about the ability to augment our great team with with these different technologies. These technologies don't essentially displace the need for more officers.
Correct.
And we got the Barry Dunn report that said we should be closer to 160.
In that range.
In that range,
Yeah.
155.
Yeah.
I think their recommendation is to kind of overhire so that we're closer to 160, 165.
Right.
So that when you have movement, we're not falling below our minimum staffing levels. How are we doing in relationship to recruitment? Are we seeing additional recruitment starting to rise? As we're coming out of the pandemic. I know just recently you graduated one of your first hires since you've been chief of police.
Yeah.
Thank you again for joining us here in Gresham as our chief. What's going on with the recruitment side of things?
No, I think it speaks to a couple different things. One, thank you for recognizing that individual. Again, it's difficult for the community to understand. It took almost a year for that person to get hired and graduate. But that really speaks to all the complexities around the hiring process and then getting that person on board and then sent to the academy. As you know, they've been impacted as well by COVID, and then getting them back out and trained and on the road so that they can serve the community. But overall, I'm really excited to talk about the fact that we have hired, I think it's 10 now since last year. And we have additional people at the academy currently in the process. And so we anticipate seeing those individuals start to release on their own, what we call solo status, which means they're out on their own in the community serving you all. And around February of next year. So we're starting to see the fruits of our labor. And again, reiterating, you're right, technologies don't replace staff. We still need staff. And we got the Barry Dunn report that tells us where we should be at. And we're going to work with the city to get there. But in the meantime, what we did with technology as well is we brought on a new technology program to help with our backgrounding and hiring processes. It's called eSoft, and what it does is it's an electronic statement of personal history, and it makes it much more easy for the applicant as well as us to get through those processes, which means we can get people hired faster and then get them at the academy. Yes, the academy is a little bit of a choke point right now because they got to get enough staffing in so that they can have more classes. But we're starting to see the fruits of our labor and getting people. I'm really excited about that. We just recently gave away a $1,000 referral to Gresham Ford.
I heard about that.
Yeah, and what an exciting time. As you know, we're offering a $1,000 referral bonus to anybody in the community that sends somebody our way and they make it through the process and get hired. Because we want to recognize that contribution that the entire community is making to keeping us safe, right? But there's just so many successes to talk about in terms of staffing. I want to say, too, we're also starting to hear back from a few people that have left our city over the last year about maybe coming back because they see the changes we've made. And so I would encourage anybody that's already left our community in any of our positions, in any of our departments. Gresham is a great place to work,
Absolutely.
as you know.
Yeah.
And we're a great city.
I enjoy working here.
And I always say, look, I wish you all the best, but always know that you're welcome home. So come on back. And I never miss an opportunity, Mayor, to recruit. My heart belongs here, as you know. And if you want to be, want to serve your community, this is a great place to serve and a great city to serve in. And so look us up. I feel like a used car salesman. I always say this. I will take you to coffee. I'll take you to lunch. I'll introduce you to the mayor. We'll talk about why you need to be a police officer or work for the city of Gresham in any capacity.
Absolutely. And I think I've referred 4 or 5 people that have contacted me directly. So absolutely looking forward to just continuing to augment our great team with folks around them. They say the best thing we can do as leaders is to hire folks that really augment the talented folks that we have, and that's what we're looking to do. Now, when we think about law enforcement, many times folks tend to think about the enforcement side of things, but we launched Safe Gresham, and Safe Gresham has prevention, intervention, and collaboration. And the prevention part, we stood up our youth violence prevention program, which is part of our youth services programming, our youth services department. So that's really the umbrella, youth services department, and it's got a lot of things underneath it. But specifically a program that they have is the youth violence prevention. Can you help the viewers actually understand kind of some of the connections that youth violence from a prevention standpoint helps downstream as our officers have to work through some of the situations, or if we do a great job on the youth violence prevention, you may not even have to deal with some of those crimes that could have happened.
Yeah, what I would offer to you is it's all about collaboration. We've talked about this multiple times, Mayor. Not one person, not one department, not law enforcement alone can solve our community safety issues. It's truly a community effort. And I think what I like about embracing this idea, I heard it at the council meeting. I can't remember who said it as a counselor, but they said maybe it was more than one, said, hey, maybe rather than youth violence prevention, it's youth opportunities. And that's what I kind of see this as. There's really two components here with that team. And by the way, we've hired two excellent people, as you know, Marcel and Iman. And I think the community's had a chance to meet them already, and we're bringing additional people on as well. Is this idea that we get involved in our youth lives early and give them alternative options to how to be successful in their community and avoid violence. Again, I don't want to necessarily make violence the main issue here by any means. And I think it's more about opportunity. And what I see this group is they've provided, as you guys got a taste of that in the recent council meeting, about all the opportunities that they've offered the youth. But also for us as a police department to connect with that team and to engage with opportunities to outreach, especially post-violence, to make connections or better connections with their family members and friends, to figure out how we can all work together to solve our community safety issues. So there's a couple different really touch points here, right? The opportunity is, what can we provide our youth to avoid violence? And then what ways in which we can connect with the team post-violence to figure out how we prevent it in the future. So I think I'm just really excited, and I got to tell you, I've sat through a couple different presentations by Iman and Marcel, and engaged with them, and many times, and they're wonderful people. They really care about the community, they care about the youth, and they're running 100 miles an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Reminds me of your Mustang you got. I don't know how fast that thing goes, but sometimes they get.
I think it could hit hundreds, although I would not know.
No. That's true. Yes. Yeah. And Officer Durbin's not working anymore. He retired, by the way. But no, so true. I think that's it. And really, what I like about the Safe Gresham initiative is again, speaking of that collaboration. It's multiple departments within the city working together and collaborating with our community-based organizations and our community about how we all do this together. We've said this multiple times. You have. I've appreciated that. It's not just law enforcement. It's not just about enforcing the laws. It's about getting to root causes and figuring out how we bring up our entire community and economics and education and health, all the things that matter in our community.
You said something that prompted just another thought. When you think about the comprehensive nature of what it takes, you got opportunity, you have engagement, you also have potentially environmental design that also contributes, to safe communities. So lighting, I would assume that lighting would be something that could enhance and improve community safety. Those types of things, I don't think people always consider that when we're thinking about, again, what you just referenced and the totality of what it takes to keep communities safe. I don't think always we think about those things that can be tangential to the boots on the ground type approach, actively doing things. I think environmental design is also something that starts all the way back with, when you're getting things permitted, making sure that maybe vegetation doesn't grow and hide entrances to businesses or homes. And, people complain sometimes about, we have to have this lighting. That's because, if you have a lack of lighting, sometimes that introduces the probability of criminal behavior. I'm assuming Those are all correct statements.
Oh, absolutely, Mayor. And I'll tell you, we have people within our system, our police department, that can do that work with you, with the community. But there's other departments as well. Code enforcement is one of those I can think of that you can reach out to and ask those questions. Because what we get oftentimes, and you probably get this too, is what can I do? What can I do about community safety? What can I do to help the police department? What can I do to help the city? And I always start with the main response I always have is be a good witness. I wouldn't ask you to get involved yourself. I want you to be safe. I want your family members to be safe. So be a good witness. Report crime. That helps us as well. And when things happen, share it with us. But in terms of environmental design, this idea is another avenue where you can do your part in either the right or appropriate amount of lighting. Maybe considering, and again, I wouldn't ask people to go out and spend extra money, but maybe a security system if you have a business, or if you can afford one. There's Ring doorbell cameras now. There's all kinds of ways in which you can get video information to be shared. But it's that opportunity to do things, as a whole. Again, that comprehensive approach. Where you can share information and help in that overall community safety effort, whether that's keeping your bushes down and making sure your trees canopy doesn't go too low, you keep it open so people can see. Maybe you contact your neighbor when you're going out of town and say, can you watch my house? Join a neighborhood association to share this information and learn about what's going on in your community. But it's all those opportunities, and environmental design is one of those where if you don't know, there's a way to get the answer, and the answer is reach out to us, reach out to the city, reach out to code enforcement to find out how they would be able to do that. So again, just another opportunity of when you ask what you could do, that's what you could do for your community.
Excellent. Looks like we have a question.
We do. So City Council recently adopted a roadmap for the financial stability for the city. Gresham has a history of not passing revenue proposals in the past. If the city isn't successful in executing on the plan, what would that mean for staffing in police? Is it true that we would not be able to staff up to the Barry Dunn recommended levels in that case?
So, great question, actually. Great question. I was going to address kind of the financial roadmap, but this question actually was not something I was going to specifically touch on. So it's an interesting perspective. So the short answer is no, we would not be able to staff up to that level. We're right now in the 120s as far as sworn officers. This would be going up substantially. Right now, roughly 90% of our budget goes to both police and fire, and that's not to say that that's a bad thing. What it's to say is that our budget, in comparison to our sister cities, say Hillsborough and Beaverton, is substantially smaller. Each of their budgets, their general fund, which we would be comparable, we're at 115,000 population. Hillsborough is at 108,000. Beaverton is at 97,000. So we are the largest of those three cities. Our annual budget currently in 2022 to 2023 for our general fund is about 84 million. Hillsborough's is 130 million. Beaverton, because they have two districts, you have to kind of extrapolate from the information. Theirs is probably about 130 to 135 million in comparable revenues for expenditures and costs. So that's anywhere from 45 to 50 million dollars more than what we have available to us. And so the short answer to the question is no, we would not be able to staff up to the 155, and certainly not up to the overhiring recommendation that Barry Dunn has given us to be able to afford 165. And so the short answer is no, we would not be able to reach that. We potentially would have some mechanisms available to the city as far as some fee levers that we can pull on. We would certainly want to work with our community to get the focus on, or get the answers to the right questions as we would look at our revenue potential. Now, to that end, back in 2014, the levy back then missed it by about 180, I believe 186 to 189 votes. So it's really close, and you wouldn't have to actually get that whole. It's about half of that because you only have to have 50+%. So that's encouraging, Chief.
Yes,
I mean, I sit in this role now, and I was part of both of the 2008 and the 2014 levy efforts to support police and fire back then. I still support, has my wholehearted support. So that's encouraging, and at a time when I think folks are now experiencing some of the things that we could investment. I mean, we look at this. We look at Gresham High School. You know, just a stone's throw away from where we are today. A beautiful facility because we have chosen to make the investments in the school district by way of a capital bond. So beautiful facilities there. Those are the types of things that we can invest in as a city to enhance the area that we live in. So I truly believe that folks are now appreciating the investments that we need to make. And I stand pretty optimistic, believing that we're going to get this levy passed, in full support of our police and fires. But I can tell you right now that if we did not get that passed, we would not be able to go to the full force of the Barry Dunn without those revenues.
And I think about two things. I think about how that will impact our staffing and I understand in our services. But really, more importantly, what I like about the whole conversation is the sharing of information that you are doing, that the council is doing. And so all I would ask is take that all into consideration when you're thinking about the future of Gresham and what level of commitment we need to invest in the services that we provide. It's not just about the police department, by the way. I mean, I could stand up here all day and ask for money, but the reality is our entire city needs the financial support to provide the best services we can. So I would just ask you to consider that, and I'm so appreciative of your leadership and your conversation about this, that you're bringing it forefront and saying, hey, this is what our community needs.
Well, and to that end, sometimes folks ask me, well, what about cost reductions?
Right.
It's a valid question. What about cost reductions?
Yeah.
Well, if I tell you a comparable city is at $130 to $140 million total general fund, and we're at $84 million, that's quite the delta. I mean, essentially, we're not talking about, we're running thin, very, very thin as a city. And it's not just, like you said, it's not just police and fire, it's every department that we have at the city to ensure. Because, as we both know, it gets pretty difficult to recruit and hire and train all of our team if we don't have the support services to even support all those hires. I mean, if we don't have IT to install the computers in the new vehicles, those are all challenges because we haven't been making those investments. And so we're not saying that our budget doesn't even get us to $130 to $140 million like our comparable cities. We're getting about halfway there with the projection of our financial plan. So the cost reductions, in my opinion, is not the answer. It's really about fully funding our city, making the right investments. So with that, I know we had a question that we received before the Facebook Live in regards to signage over at the Rockwood Market Hall, and I believe we do have that answer.
Essentially, we do have city code that limits size and placement due to ADA regulations. However, the actual signage on the building, physical building, is up to the owner of the building.
So the original question was about external signage over at the Rockwood Market Hall and whether or not they could have external signage here at the city. And as it stands, we don't actually have anything that prohibits these external signage. We do have, recommendations and requirements, not necessarily recommendations, requirements on size and placement and those types of things, but not we don't, as we have found out, we don't have any prohibitions to any external signage on the side of the building. That's up to the building owner. So we'll absolutely check in further with the building owner to find out how we can be of assistance to ensure those businesses that are at the Rockwood Market Hall have an opportunity to be successful.
Absolutely.
So we're looking forward to that.
I've had a lunch a couple times.
Yeah, you have got some good food down there.
They do.
So if you want good food, go ahead
there.
and don't
Please.
hesitate to go over to the Rockwood Market Hall. Enjoy the good food that's there.
Yes.
With that, we've got some really fun events that are coming up. This weekend, actually, TriMet is having the grand opening of the bus rapid transit line. So it's going to be in various parts of the city on Saturday, September 15th, September 17th. And I was actually on the TriMet board when we approved all of that. So it's kind of it's fun and exciting to see it come through full fruition and actually get ready to open up. So I'll be there celebrating the opening of that. We've got the Hiroshima Peace tree dedication on September 19th at 10 a.m. So the Hiroshima Peace Tree dedication on September 19th at 10 a.m. And then we've got the bike rodeo on September 24th from 11 to 3 p.m. at Main City Park. And the 24th, Chief, is the same day as the annual Teddy Bear Parade.
Yes.
So September 24th, 10 a.m., the Teddy Bear Parade, downtown Gresham.
Yeah.
Make sure you get out to that.
Yeah,
It's an incredible event. I believe we're
Yeah.
at our 40th annual, if I'm not mistaken. We'll make sure we get that
yes.
information right. But I think we're at our 40th annual Teddy Bear Parade.
Yes.
So I'm sure you're going to be there.
Okay, Mayor.
yeah.
And I'm sorry, Gresham community.
It looks like he's
I'm out of
hesitating.
town.
He looks like he's hesitating.
I wish I could
Oh,
have
my
planned
goodness.
this better, but I am about to celebrate my 30th anniversary.
So that's
So,
10 years. You
you
know,
know,
after the Teddy Bear Parade. It was probably
our
the Teddy Bear Parade that got you married.
Yeah. So, but I do have it on good information that I will have somebody there, from the police department. And I think there was something about riding a bike or maybe even on a fire truck. I don't know, but
Maybe wearing a strawberry costume.
I might do that if I can get it done. They will be wearing a strawberry costume.
Very
as
cool. Well, I will be there. I'll make sure that at least one of the Travi
Yeah.
is in attendance
Yes.
on September 24th, 10 a.m., Teddy Bear Parade, downtown Gresham. With that, Chief,
Yeah.
always a pleasure. Thank you
Yes.
for your leadership. We can't
Yeah.
say that enough.
Thank you.
I know sometimes it seems like we're facing challenging times.
Yeah.
It's going on all across the country.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I talk to my fellow mayors in other cities across the country, and we're all kind of faced with the same thing, although we're super optimistic. We know we're going to get ahead of this, and with his leadership, I'm excited. We're dedicated. We're going to make this happen. And folks, stay tuned for as we begin to talk about that long-term financial sustainability plan and what you can do to help us out as we make further investments in our amazing city. Until we see each other again, please stay safe and stay healthy.